Hello, welcome to Flower Juice. My name is John McDonald, and today we're going to make an arrangement using some flowers I just collected when I took the dog out for a walk. So essentially a wildflower arrangement. Now I've got a really nice mix of flowers, uh, all different sorts. We've got some basically ami, some I think this is a kind of mallow. I've got a couple of grasses as well because there's a bit of a ditch. Now I've also got some solidago, and this is like a little kind of wild aster. So lots of different things, and really I just wanted to show you that you can make an arrangement using things that you can forage or collect. So things that we think of as weeds or not important can actually be very, very beautiful. And generally with wildflowers, they tend to have quite a nice airy effect. So we're going to replicate that. So for our base, I'm going to use these two dishes, and we're going to use Kenzans as our mechanic. Now, this one is from Wazakura. If you're interested in getting a Kenzan, which is a really good addition to your toolbox, if you have a little look in the description of this video, we'll post a link for basically a discount with them if you want. So I'm going to use Kenzans or pin holders. You don't have to, you could use a different mechanic if you want, but I wanted to keep this quite low and quite clean, and this is a good way of doing that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add water. Now, we just need to add water so that it covers the pins. If all the material goes into the pins, then we know that they're in water if that's above the level of the pins. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about the water getting dirty neither, because we can always do a water change at the end. So I'm going to look for our big materials first, or our structural pieces. And as I say, this came from a ditch. Where there's a lot of reeds growing. And we're just going to put this in first. Now, our other really structural one is this material. Isn't that beautiful? Now, I would call this an ami. Or there's lots of different members of this kind of family, like this cow parsley, different ones. And you can buy them commercially as well. But as you can see, that's just creating our structural element in our design. Now, as we add these structural pieces, it'll create a structure as well. And I'm going to do both of these at once. The reason for that is that it's just easier. Generally, if I was making a few arrangements that are going to go together, it is easier just to create them at once. Now, this is something that grows all over the place in Hungary, and we know very well as florists, and this is solidago. And solidago is so all over the place here that actually you can get solidago honey. Hungary is a very big country for producing honey, and they have at least 14 different types of honey. So you can get like acacia, oilseed rape, but mixed flower, and one of them is solidago. And they all have their own unique characters. So if you are going to pick some flowers like this, what you need to do is really pick them and give them a really good drink. They're definitely going to feel a lot happier if you pick them first thing in the morning and then let them sit and soak up a good amount of water. So essentially what we're making here is a parallel design. So all the stems are going straight up and down. They're not radiating from one particular place. So in some ways this is the easiest way to make an arrangement, but also it can be that doesn't mean that it's the easiest. It is possible that you can put too much in, and you need to think about how things work in combination with other materials. So you're looking for different heights, different shapes, different textures, and just how they all interact with each other. Now this material I absolutely love. When it comes out, I always spot it and I go, isn't that amazing? And I have used it before. I don't think it lasts particularly well, but it's just so beautiful, we're going to put it in. And we can even use like the buds from it as well. Now in this bowl I've got a black painted Kenzen, and this is one of the ones that I got from Wazakura. And the black is really useful because it just kind of disappears when you put it into a dark container. So with this, I didn't go out my way to think, right, I'm going to have just all white or all coloured. In nature, things come in different colours and they're all just together. So we're just going to do the same thing into our designs here and just mix them. Now, you could do an all white version if you want. That would actually be quite classic as well. So I know I've got quite a nice range here. Depending on where you are, your materials will be different. But I think it's about seeing what is available, what is something that you wouldn't give a second look to, and when you actually do look at it, you realise that it's quite beautiful, and that weed is suddenly really interesting. The minute you put it into a beautiful dish, then you're seeing it in a different situation and you're starting to realise that it is quite beautiful. So as you can see, this is starting to create a structure that will hold the flowers. So I can come in up here, drop this down. Yes, it's going to hit the pin holder, but it's also being supported by those other flowers that are now in there as well. Now, obviously, if you are going to pick wildflowers, do so in a responsible way. So if you can get permission, or if it's round the edge of a field of a friend's property, then that's the best way to do it. And also, if it's a place where there's loads of material, if things are a little bit scarce, then I would say leave them for the bees, because they probably need them more. But also just cut what you need. Don't cut armfuls of material if you're not going to use it all. Just love all these buds and little stems. I think using wildflowers like this actually makes you realise how commercial a lot of our flowers are. Saying that, there has been a lot of varieties developed by growers that emulate this wild look. So it has been a bit of a trend, and the growers have really picked up on that. So particularly, I'm thinking of like the Lysianthus. They used to be really, well, they still are, a lot of them, but they're very big and heavy and floral. And now you can get ones that are just basically single flowers and a very natural look, which I love. So especially if you're going to do a wedding or a function that needs to have quite a natural wild flower sort of vibe, there are commercial flowers now that will give you that. Now, as you can see, this hasn't taken long to make 2 arrangements. The fact that they're in dark containers shows off the colours really well. And just going to maybe put a little bit of foliage just at the base of this one, just to take your eye away from the pin holder. But it depends where you put this. There's a little bit of depth in this vase or in this dish. So if you're putting it in a place where you're not really, if you're looking sideways on, you're not going to see that pin holder in the bottom. And a pin holder is great that it's actually easier to hide. If you're going to use a different material like a floral foam, you tend to need a little bit more volume with that. And with the volume, you then need to hide that. And that becomes a little bit of, not an issue, but it's harder to hide that volume. So there we go. We've got 2 really simple arrangements. Now, I think we've really showcased the materials, but we've kept that feeling of light airiness and just showed off the natural beauty of the flowers to their best advantage. And that's really what you're wanting to do when you're making a flower arrangement, is just show off the materials that you've got to best advantage in whatever way that might be. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. We've got videos on a regular basis. We'd love you to join us for our next one. If you're still wanting a little bit more flower inspiration, then have a look in the description box. We'll post a link for one of our other videos that you can enjoy right now. So until next time, take care, and we hope to see you soon.